Hi guys, welcome back to Age Automation. This is AJ here. So in this session I am going to perform postmortem on XPath locator in Selenium. So XPath is the most widely used and most powerful locating strategy available in the Selenium WebDriver for locating the web objects. Okay, so I am going to cover functions and techniques that are available by using which you can create your own customized XPath right from basic level to the advanced level. Okay, so all you have to do is watch this lecture carefully until end, and if you learn and practice these techniques, I give 100% guarantee that you will become master, such that you will be able to create your own XPath by just looking at the web objects, attributes, their values and tag name within a minute. Okay, so I hope you will like this very important session. So let's jump into this right away. Okay, let us go and first see what exactly XPath stands for. So XPath stands for XML Path Language. Okay, so let me help you to understand each word in this. So XML, that means extensible markup language. Okay, XML, extensible markup language. So this language is software and hardware independent. Okay, and that's why it is easily human readable and at the same time it is easily machine readable. Okay, so whatever code or data you store in XML language, it can be easily understood by the humans. Okay, and equally it is understandable to the machine as well. Okay, so this language is used to store and transport the data. Okay, transport the data. Okay, so that's about the XML. So some of you might be known about this XML language and XML files. So in Selenium framework we use test-ng XML or pom.xml. Okay, these are the examples of XML. Okay, so XPath we can say is a query language to get data from this XML files. Okay, so for example, if I want to give some example how we store the data in XML. Okay, so XML file will contain some different nodes. Okay, so it will have some starting node, let's say header. Okay, and it will have an ending node with the header. Okay, and in between these two nodes you can write any kind of data. Okay, and it can be processed by the machine as well very easily, and it's very easy to understand for the humans also. So for example, you can write as simple as like my name. Okay, my name is AJ. Okay, and you just have to close this or end this with the same tag, my name. Okay, that means this node have some data. Okay, it's a string data, and this is the starting and here it ends. Okay, so whatever in between these two nodes is called as a data. Okay, so let's say for example, let's say another one. Okay, so you just have to store data in the form of starting node and ending node. Okay, in between you can store the data, working in test automation, let's say. Okay, make sure ending with the same node. Okay, with the slash. Okay, so this is the very simple example how the XML we store the data and how the XML file will be. So in XML file you can have same nodes with the different data, right? Let's say something like that. Okay, so XPath will be used, okay, as I already said, it's a query language to get data from this. Okay, so if you want to fetch some data or go to some nodes, so you will be use some combination of nodes, for example with node having, let's say, tag with working and text equal to Selenium. Okay, so if you want to go to some particular node from this object, so in this way, it's just example, it's not a in a form of query, but just I am giving a practical example how you can go to a particular node. So you need to use some node property, okay, and if there is a text present, you just have to provide that. So okay, so XPath will reach with the help of that at this particular node. Okay, so same technique we used in HTML document. We use different attributes and values with tag name. Okay, so in HTML the data will be stored and represented with different tags. Okay, and in that tags, okay, if there is some tag like for example input, in between this this also similar to the XML, it will have starting and ending tag, and in between this you can provide any attributes. Okay, any attribute you can provide. Likewise, id is equal to, so it is designed when a web developer is designing the web page. Okay, so using the using this tag or attributes and their values, we will be able to reach to some specific node in the document. Okay, so that's why I covered this, and is it useful how we create our basic syntax. Okay, basic syntax of the XPath. Okay, so this is only the introduction, theoretical part related to the XPath. Okay, it might ask in interview what exactly it is or what is XML stands for. Okay, so just knowledge point of view, I just covered this. Okay, so okay, let's go to XPath again. Okay, so now let's go and see what are the types of XPath. Okay, types of XPath. Okay, so there are two types of XPath. So one is absolute, okay, and second type is relative XPath. Okay, so let us go and see what exactly the absolute XPath mean. Okay, so absolute XPath means it start from first, or you can say the root element. Okay, root element in HTML DOM. Okay, and it will traverse up to desired element. Okay, so it will start from the first and root element in HTML DOM and up to the desired element is found. Okay, that means in HTML document, our document start with the HTML tag, right? Okay, so it will start with this HTML root. Okay, and it will traverse. Okay, it will traverse until you get your desired node, or desired node you can say, or desired element. Okay, okay, so for example I will show you practically. So let's go to Facebook. Okay, and just right click, inspect. Okay, so here you just have to right click on this. Okay, this row is representing the email text box. Okay, so you just have to go copy, and here you will find copy full XPath. Okay, so this will give you absolute XPath value. Okay, so basically our absolute XPath will start from this first node. Okay, and it will travel from HTML tag to our desired input. Okay, so let's see, I have copied it. Let's see how it looks like. Okay, as you can see, let me zoom out. Okay, as you can see, the length of absolute XPath. Okay, so as you can see, it start from HTML. Okay, let me do like that. Okay, quite easy. Okay, so it start from HTML, then it goes to body. Okay, because our element is under this body. Okay, then it will go to div. Okay, so it comes to body. Okay, in body our element, okay, so body has two childs here. It has this div, it has several childs, but our element, you can see like this. This is the first child, this is the second. Okay, so in second, what is the value it is showing? Div, okay, div1. Okay, so in the first child only our element is there, right? It's highlighting the entire page. That means it's somewhere there in the div tag. So okay, so that's why it goes under the div, and this is called as the indexing. Okay, we will see in detail what exactly and how we use this indexing. Okay, so just as of now, just understand that giving in square bracket, that means we need to go to the first div. Okay, after body, if there are several divs displayed, then by showing this indexing, okay, by showing this one index, that means you need to go to the first div. Okay, once you go to the first div, it's going to the, okay, div means second div. Okay, so this div, it has two child, means two divs are there. Okay, so in first it is not highlighting, in second it is highlighting the this row, right? Means it is somewhere inside this second. Okay, so likewise absolute XPath uses different nodes and tags right from the first HTML tag, and it will travel until we will get to the input tag. Okay, so this is our desired and this is our first. Okay, so that's what we saw. It will start from HTML and to the desired node of element. Okay, so let us go and check if it is correct or not. It will be correct, but as per last lecture I have suggested that always use Ctrl F and paste your XPath here and make sure that it is showing 1 of 1. Okay, so this absolute XPath is correct. Okay, but absolute XPath is never recommended to use in your Selenium script, because as you can see its length is too high, it's too long, and it starts from the first node and until the desired node. But what if the web developer or project they inserted some other div or other element in between this? Okay, because absolute XPath is dependent upon the position. Okay, so it depends upon the position, and by using indexing we are able to reach to the desired desired node. Okay, so if in future they inserted some 2 to 3 elements in this, okay, so whatever the absolute XPath we have used in our Selenium, that will not work in that. Okay, from that point, okay, once a new element is inserted here in DOM, then our this old absolute XPath will not work. Okay, so every time you need to change your position. Then okay, so if here they added one more div, okay, so then again you need to come here and change your absolute XPath like this. Okay, come to div, then if they added two more divs in after that, so go to div, then go to second div, like that. So you need to keep updating your absolute XPath. Okay, so which is not feasible and which is not it's time consuming and very complex thing. Okay, so that's why it is never recommended. Okay, so we are going to use the relative XPath in our whole Selenium theoretical whole Selenium learning. So we okay, so we are going to use relative XPath because of this reason. Okay, so just for the sake of interviews and knowledge point of view, I have explained what exactly the absolute XPath, okay, and how it is get generated. Okay, start from the first and then traverse up to the desired node. Okay, so you don't have to worry about this absolute XPath because we are not going to use it in our Selenium. So just have some knowledge. If in interview they ask you, just you will be able to answer in this way. Okay, okay, so let us move to our second relative XPath. Second type, relative XPath. Okay, so here I will just put some note. Will never in Selenium as it is position dependent. Okay, position dependence means if in future this position of the input tag changes, this whatever the absolute XPath will not work. Okay, so it's not feasible to change it every time. Okay, every time we changes or add more element in HTML DOM. Okay, so just for sake of information, so let us go and see what exactly relative XPath means. So relative XPath, by using you can directly go to the desired node. Okay, you can directly go to the desired node or element. No need to start with root node. Okay, so basic syntax I will tell you, then you will understand more. Basic syntax. So how you can directly jump into the desired node? Okay, so basic syntax of relative XPath is / tag, then square bracket, @ we will use attributes of the elements is equal to, in single quote, attributes value. Okay, very simple. You have to give this in single quote. Okay, so let's see what is it actually practically. So you can just you can inspect this again, anyone. Okay, so for the same field we are going to use this input tag. Okay, so all these in the blue line you can see all these are the attributes, okay, associated with this text field. Okay, so there are multiple attributes available. Okay, sometimes in real time you will not find more than one, or sometimes there will not be any attributes. Okay, so that time you need to use the different functions, okay, that we are going to see in after some time. But as of now, as we have several attributes available, you can use this to get to the desired element. Okay, so how you can create a relative XPath for this using this syntax? Okay, using this syntax is / input, right? It has input tag at the rate. Okay, so you can use any of the attribute here as of now. So you can use type, its value is email, or you can use class, its value is in double quote, okay, or name or id or date test id also. Okay, as per the basic testing locating strategy, you can use directly by dot id also, but sometimes this id or name class will not be available for particular element. Okay, so that time you can use another attributes available. So let's go and use type. Type is equal to email, at the rate type is equal to single slash. You can use double slash also, but make a habit of using the single slash. Okay, you can use here double slash also. You can use double quotes, I mean, sorry. Okay, but make a use of make a habit of using the single quote. Okay, so inside it you have to give the value. Okay, so let's go and check if it is correct or not. Control C, and here, okay, so Control F. So here on right side you can see it is showing 1 of 1. That means our relative XPath is correct, and it is finding and it is locating our web element uniquely. Okay, it has identified this text box uniquely as it is showing 1 of 1. Okay, so this is very handy method how to verify your XPath in browser itself. Okay, so if you see 1 of 1, then you can directly use this in your Selenium script. Okay, so this is only the basic syntax and basic form we see about the relative XPath. Okay, so let us go and dig more into this. Okay, okay, so let us use another attribute. Let's say, for example, I need to use this name or id. Let's say name. So here only what you have to do, attribute you need to change. Let's say id is equal to email. Okay, it's also working. And if you change to name also, this time also it will work, because we are going right attributes name and right attributes value. Okay, so this you can go in the double quote also. Just I will show you practically. Okay, both are working, but thing is in Selenium we are going to use by dot likewise driver dot find element, right, and bracket by dot, let's say XPath, and in this is a method, and in double quote we need to provide. So if you use double quote, okay, if you use double quote instead of this single quote, it will give you an error. Okay, because double quote inside double quote is not allowed in Java, right? So you have to convert this into single. Okay, so it's better to have a habit to add the attributes value in a single quote. Okay, so lighting line here. Okay, so this is our relative XPath. So we'll be able to it is better. So here that syntax we use tag here. So you can provide this double slash var means using the tag, that means go and find the element with input tag. Okay, so there is another way that if you don't want to use or don't want to mention tag, then there is a method that you can use star. Okay, star means any tag. Okay, it can be input, it can be button, it can be div. So scan with any tag and this will be the same. Okay, so I will never recommend this as well to use the star, always specify whatever the tag you want for the specific element. Okay, so there always be some tag present for element. Okay, so you need to provide actually what a tag is there in the HTML DOM. Okay, so next you will see, okay, this is the, okay, so we see the basic syntax, double slash, tag, and then attributes. Okay, so next is next thing we will see what is, you can see here we have used double slash and single slash. So what is double slash and single slash? Okay, so first we will see what is double slash. Okay, so using double slash you are telling and you are able to find an element with entire HTML document. That means if you use this double slash input, that means go and find input tag element in all the HTML DOM. Okay, in complete HTML DOM document. Okay, it can be anywhere, right? Okay, find in entire DOM, anywhere it is present. Okay, so if you use @input, that means it should go and check all the input tags in the HTML DOM, no matter where it present, at the first place or at 10th element or what at the end. Okay, so if you write, okay, double slash input, so as you can see it has scanned 47 elements which has input tag. Okay, in whole HTML document it has found 47 elements having input tag. Okay, so that's how you use the double slash. Okay, so if you want to find element in anywhere, okay, so we always start with the double slash. And so this is the syntax of relative XPath, where it will start always with the double slash. Okay, that means start from anywhere and find it anywhere in the HTML DOM. Okay, so let us go and see what is single slash. Okay, so single slash is used to go to the immediate node. Okay, immediate node or element, you can say, after the current node. Okay, so in absolute XPath, as you can see, it has used only single slash. Okay, there is no double slash. Okay, because we are traversing from one node to another. Okay, so it's finding immediate divs after this body. Okay, then immediate second div after this first div. Okay, likewise after immediate table node after this form. That means I will show you, let's say, okay, let us see. Okay, for example, you can see that this T body has, okay, 2 nodes. Okay, so all these 3 TR are called as immediate nodes after this T body. Okay, so if you want to go to this T body after go to this TR after T body, okay, so how you can go, first let us create XPath. Okay, let us start with the T body directly. Okay, using double slash T body. Okay, after T body, if you want to go to this TR, okay, so all these TR are immediate one, means single slash TR. So as you can see in right hand side, it has given the 3. Okay, so what 3 is representing, there are 3 immediate nodes after the T body. Okay, You can also call them as childs, and this is the parent. Okay, so immediate means immediate is does not mean that it should be the first. Okay, it means it can be first or second or third. Okay, but if you expand this, that does not mean like inside element also you can go. You can only reach up to the immediate nodes using the single slash. Okay, then if you want to go to the TD, okay, so you can use here double slash. I can already have already told you, using double slash you can reach to any node. Okay, okay, it doesn't mean it's required to be a immediate one to the T body. From T body we directly jump on to the TD using double slash. Okay, so likewise you can use single slash and double slash. Okay, as per your requirement you can use it. Okay, so what we have done is here single slash used to go to immediate node and element after the current node. Okay, so immediate does not mean a first node. Okay, remember this, it should not it's not like it should be first node. Okay, so that's about this. Then okay, so we have seen like double slash you can use to find element. It can be anywhere. Okay, that means using double slash you can go from T body to TD. Okay, so you can see that this T body, for example, this is a parent. Okay, and this parent has 3 child. Okay, so using single slash you can just move to the childs of this parent. Okay, all these TD are grandchild of this T body. Okay, okay, so you cannot use single slash to go to the grandchild. Okay, you can only move to child element. Okay, the immediate one, the immediate childs of this parent. Okay, so this is also a node that using double slash you can go to, okay, you can go to child or grandchild or grandchild, you can say. Okay, so from anywhere you can go using double slash, right? So in single slash you cannot go to grandchild. Okay, you can only go to child. Okay, okay, that is the difference. Okay, so that's why double slash is very useful while creating our XPath. Okay, so let's move to the next thing. Okay, now let's go and see how you can traverse in reverse direction. Okay, so until now we have just moving from one node to another node in forward direction, right? Okay, so let me just give numbers here. Okay, traverse in reverse direction. Okay, so let's see, I will show you. Okay, so for example you want to go from this label, okay, from this node to TD. Okay, means from child to the parent. Or if you want to go from label to TD, then you want to go to TR, and then you want to go to T body. Means you need to traverse in reverse direction. So how can you do that? So let us create first relative XPath for this label node. So it can be label bracket at the rate, we have for attribute, it's equal to its value is email. Okay, so now we are at here. Now if you use slash dot dot, okay, do you see that it went to td? Okay, again you use dot dot, again it went to the previous node. Okay, so likewise if you keep using this, okay, it will go to the first node. Okay, after you use so many this combination, it can go to the HTML tag. Okay, so how you can move in reverse direction using slash dot dot. Okay, so just for example I will put it here. Okay, example, use slash dot dot after current node. Okay, so it's sometimes it's very useful, very easily you can traverse in reverse direction, okay, using this. Okay, so next, okay, now let us go and see functions in XPath. Okay, this section is very important, functions, okay, or you can say the methods in XPath. Okay, so until now we have just seen how to create XPath expression, the basic XPath expression using the syntax, this basic syntax using tag name, attributes and its value. So now we will see what are the different functions that are available in XPath. Okay, so start with the function. Okay, so first function is text method. Okay, so what is the text method in XPath? So I will give you the syntax first. It's very much similar to the basic syntax of XPath. Here you have to use tag. Okay, here text. Okay, as it is a method, you don't have to use the @ symbol here, right? And then equal to single quote text. Okay, so text present for that element. Okay, so I will show you where this text can be and how it is used. So for example, let's go to our this okay, so you can see here this email or phone. Okay, you can see that on UI we can see email or phone number, this text is representing here. So here you can see that there is no ID or class or name attributes for this label available, right? So one way you can use this for, okay, and another way is you can make a use of this text directly. Okay, so you can tell that give me an element having this text. Okay, so how you can do that? Let's say label then text equal to, in single quote you just have to paste this value. Okay, so can take from here as well. Okay, so as you can see here, it has identified that uniquely 1 of 1. Okay, so just use the value, okay, whatever text present in this, so you can easily identify this is the starting tag, okay, and this is the ending tag. So if it is having some text in between these two, so that text value you can directly use and you can create your XPath expression. Okay, so just copy this and we have created that, right? Label text equal to, okay, very simple. Just for example like this. Okay, so this method comes very handy when the element do not have any attribute from id, name or class. Okay, or for example this for is also not present. Okay, so in that case you have to go with this method only. Okay, that time text will be present. Okay, and sometimes attribute values keep changing. Okay, at the runtime it keep on changing, so that time also you can make a use of this method. Okay, so let's go and see next method. This is the first. Second is pretty similar, contains. Okay, so what does this contains method show you? First we will see the syntax. Tag contains, okay, it is a method, so give bracket, and inside bracket you can use attributes. So for example attribute, okay, here you don't have to use equal sign, right? We are using inside the bracket, and the syntax is little bit different. So here you need to give the comma, and here in single quote you have to give the attributes value. A small difference is there in between these two. Only here we are using in the basic syntax of XPath we are using @attribute is equal to attributes value. Okay, here you are using the comma. So let us see for example, so the same, if we can use using the same syntax. Okay, so here only we will create our XPath, and then we will use Control F, and let us see if it is correct or not. So if I want to change this into this use this contains. Okay, okay, then it will be easy. Bracket label contains, then @attributes. So if you are using the text, okay, so that time I already told you that we don't have to use the @. Okay, so directly use text comma, and what's the value of the text is this in single quote. Okay, so let's go and paste it, and let's see if it is correct or not. Control A to V. Oh, something we missed. Okay, oh, we missed this bracket, right? We missed this bracket after text is a method, right? Okay, so as you can see, one of one, and our element has uniquely identified, okay, with the help of this XPath and contains method. Okay, so here we use the text attribute. Okay, so just let me make a changes in this. So whatever notes I am making, I am going to put that in description of this video, so that will be handy for you while going for the interview also. Okay, so if you observe that for contains and with this text we have used the complete value of the attribute value. Okay, so but main method, main use of contains method is you can even provide a partial value of the attributes value, and in that case also our driver will able to look at the web element. Okay, so here we use the complete value of the text, so let us send some partial value. Okay, okay, partial value you can send any one, like starting or ending. Okay, so we are going to send only the phone, and let us see if it is highlighting or not. Okay, so as you can see, it is showing and it is highlighting. Okay, so we just have sent the phone, and it's a partial value of this text. Okay, you can even send, I think, email. Okay, so what's the value? It's complete. Okay, okay, capital E. Okay, it is a case sensitive. Okay, always remember the XPath expression is a case sensitive. Okay, so it is highlighting. Okay, you are just sending the partial values, even though also our XPath is able to find our web element uniquely. Okay, so that is the main use of a contains method. Sometimes the text present for a web element, okay, it's too long in length. Okay, so that's the feature given by the XPath, like just provide me a partial value and I can still identify the web element. Okay, so it's very useful when the length is a little bit long. Okay, so let us see some more example. Okay, so this is the partial value of attribute. Okay, and this example is complete value. Okay, so let us use some attribute like id. Rather than text, we should use, let us see if we can. Okay, so let us identify this with the help of contains method. Okay, so we will pass the value of this class. Okay, so class, as you can see, there is space in between. So let us use this in contains, and let us see if we can identify or not. Okay, /input contains then @ class comma in a single quote you have to provide value. Okay, just remove, let me remove this double quote. Okay, so as you can see, it's highlighting two web element because it has the web element having the same classes. Okay, so both password field and email field have same classes, that's why it is representing 2. Okay, but that is the use of contains method. So you can use that with the attributes like class, id, or whatever attributes are available here, or even you can use with the text also with our text method. Okay, so this is another example. Okay, so I hope it's very easy and very useful, the contains method. Okay, so let's go and see the next. Okay, so third is similar to the contains, its name is starts with. Okay, okay, you may imagine that what it exactly. So we are able to find an web element by providing some values, only the starting values of the from the attributes value. Okay, so here similar to above syntax, tag, and then write function in this square bracket starts with Okay, some method, then inside it attribute comma attributes value means starting value. Okay, so where it useful is, let's say on Amazon or Flipkart app you place an order, right? You place multiple orders. Okay, so for orders you will get unique order ID, right? Okay, so this order ID will be generated at runtime and that will be dynamic. Okay, say for example, for first order you get order ID like this, order then slash order number. Okay, something like that. Okay, for next order you will you get order this, something like that. Okay, so as you can see the order ID, this order and slash is same in each and every order. Okay, so if you want to identify such web element, okay, having some dynamically changing part, okay, so you can use make a use of this starts with function. Okay, and you will be able to identify that web element uniquely. Okay, so handle this scenario. Let us see practically. Okay, for the same contains method we can use start with function. Okay, starts with. Okay, so as you can see it is highlighting, but we have provided it complete value, so you just have to provide some value from which it is starting. Okay, so we are not providing any complete value here, we are just providing start with input. Okay, so is it working or not working? Starts with @ class input text. Okay, we have to provide, okay, that is the word, right? Input text, something. Oh, we missed the single quote, right? Okay, so even if you provide the I, that is it's representing some multiple web element, so you can just have to provide the starting value. So let's say input. Okay, input text, then login. Okay, so for example for this, how you can use it with the label and let's say email. Our attribute is for and its value is email. Okay, capital E. Okay, label start with for and then email. Maybe yes. Oh, it's small e, sorry. Okay, so we use attribute also, but I was thinking to use this text. So here you just have to change starts with text. Okay, start with text, and what is the text? It is starting with capital E, email. So you can see 1 of 1. Okay, so this is the another example. Okay, start with the text. You can use the attribute also. So let me paste this example as well. Okay, so only difference in between this contains and starts with is for contains you can provide any value, you can provide this or you can provide this ending phone also, but for start with you need to provide the starting value only. Okay, you cannot identify by providing this phone. Okay, so let's okay, I will show you if you what happens if you provide the ending value. Okay, so for the same, let's see. Okay, so if you provide, for example, if you provide phone, okay, so it's 0 because it's not able to identify that web element using this because you are using starts with, so you need to provide the only the starting value, it's the ending value, and it is not applicable for this starts with function. Okay, so keep in mind, always provide the starting value of the attribute. Okay, starting value. Okay, so next. Okay, so next we will see last function. Okay, so sometimes it's very useful, so how it can be used. Okay, so to understand last function, let me tell you first what is indexing. Okay, what is indexing? So for example, if you come here, this table, okay, it has 3 rows. Tr means rows. Okay, and this is the complete table, and it has 3 rows. One, this is first tr, second and third. Okay, so how table is represented in HTML with the help of t body. Okay, then tr, there will be row, and each row will have some columns. Okay, so columns will be represented by td. Okay, so currently I don't have an example of a web table that I am going to cover in some session, but the concept is, for a table or a parent, if he has some childs, okay, so how you can use last method. Okay, so let me first let's go to t body first. Okay, double slash t body. Okay, from t body I want to go to tr. Okay, so you can go by using single slash or double slash also, it will use it will be work. Okay, so tr, so as you can see here, it is showing 3, that means immediate 3 childs are there for this t body. Okay, so by specifying, what if you want to go to the second only, not the first, so using the square bracket you can mention that which tr or which row or which child you want to go. So this means first tr means first child, so after t body it will highlight the first row only uniquely. Okay, as you can see here, it is showing 1 of 1. Okay, so for second you just have to provide 2, for third you have to provide 3. Okay, so there if there are only 3, if you provide 4, it will not give any output. Okay, so it will not give any output for 0 as well. Okay, so you just have to provide the index. Okay, index of the child. Okay, so that is how you use the indexing. Okay, so just to understand last function, you need to understand this first. Okay, just mention index in square bracket. Now where last function will be useful, let's say here after t body. Okay, after t body, without indexing, if you want to use if you want to go to the last child directly. Okay, for example, for this table, let's say there are 50 rows available. means 50 child. Okay, so without using the 50th index, directly you can go to the last one by using this last function. Okay, as you can see, it is highlighting the last row. Okay, so whatever table last row present, you can use this last function, and it is very useful when the table rows are dynamically changing at the runtime. Okay, sometimes it happens that rows get generated and it get added to the table at the runtime. Okay, and that time you don't know what will be the last index. Okay, so that time you can use this last function and it will highlight the last row. Okay, so also if you want to go to the previous to the last, you just have to use last minus 1. As you can see, it goes to the previous node. If you go last minus 2 to the first node. Okay, so this is how you can use it. Okay, so let me paste it here. Okay, minus 1. These are all the examples. Okay, so next is count function. Okay, so what if you want to count number of childs present in this parent? Okay, or number of rows available in some specific table on your web page. Okay, so in that case you don't know that what will be the count of rows at that particular time, or if you want to select a particular table with that number of rows only. Okay, so currently we know that this table has only 3 rows. Okay, so you can highlight that table. Okay, you can create a web element you can make a element of that table only using this count function. So how you can use it, let's say here. Okay, so table bracket count. Okay, it is a function, right? Inside bracket you need to provide a dot. Okay, always remember to give the dot. Okay, by giving dot, it will go and check only in the current table only. Okay, so if you forget to provide the dot, it will keep checking in the entire web page. Okay, so if you don't want to check in entire web page, you can provide here dot. Okay, and what you have to count? The number of rows, right? Means number of childs. So for this example we have tr. Okay, so we have this table with 3 tr, right? So how you can highlight it? With the help of this dot. Okay, all the dot, right? All dot equal to, okay, so in our example it is 3. So let's go and check. Okay, so as you can see, it is highlighting 1 of 1 and it is highlighting this entire table. Okay, so when the web page is designed for this Facebook, they have designed this in a form of table. Okay, and they created 3 rows, one for this text, one for password, and what is the next is for forgotten account. Okay, so likewise in your real-time application, if there are any tables present or if there are any multiple table presents, okay, so and if you want to find or highlight a web element inside a particular table, so you can provide so number of rows for that table. Okay, so according to the number of rows, that table will be identified. Okay, sorry. So this is how you can use this count function. Okay, so I have already created it, right, with just an example. Okay, So all these examples we are seeing are on facebook.com. okay, so if you want to see what we are website we use is, let me, okay, it's a website. facebook.com. okay, just for your reference we use this website. okay, so if you want to practice you can do that here only. okay, okay, so let's go and see the next. I think all the functions I have covered. All these are the very important. There are total 5 functions. Text, contains, start with, they are very important, and this last and count. okay, these are also comes very handy in some particular scenarios. okay, so let's go and see next concept in XPath. okay, okay, so now let us go and see what are the XPath access is. XPath access. okay, so this is another concept in XPath. okay, so let us go and see what exactly it is. so let's say first parent. okay, so what is the parent access in XPath? let's say if you want to go to some childs are there. okay, for example, this div has this form. okay, and this form has this table, then t body, this tr, and this td. okay, so if you want to go from td to its parent, okay, means this tr, so parent of td is tr. okay, the parent of tr is t body and parent of t body is table. so how you can use this parent access, let's see. so let me first go to this td. okay, so here you can use okay, let us go to the label also. You can we will go from label to td and then td to this tr. okay, likewise. so let me create a simple XPath for this. so I hope you know that how you can easily, just looking at it you will be able to create your XPath now. okay, so label text, we are going to use text equal to, okay, this password. now I want to go to the parent. so how you can use it, just you have to write parent double colon and td. okay, so as you can see it has just go one level up. okay, means the previous node means parent. okay, so any node if you want to go to the its parent, you can use this parent access. okay, okay, so from this if you want to go to its td's parent, now td's parent is this tr. okay, so just use, you can use the single slash parent double colon tr. okay, just specify the tag for the parent. okay, okay, and as you can see that it's going one level up. okay, so if you want to go from tr to again t body, similar fashion you can use this. so it's pretty much similar to the one we just saw previously, using slash dot dot slash and then dot dot this. okay, so this is one method. you can traverse in reverse direction, and this is the another one, parent, means using that you can traverse in reverse direction to the parents from child nodes. Okay, so how you can use it is double slash. Okay, let's say using some tag name you created some parent node or attribute for child. Okay, okay, this is your child. So after that you just have to use single slash parent and then specify the tag. Okay, here is tag. Okay, so this is the syntax to use the parent. An example we just saw, I'll just let me see why it is not highlighting. So you need to provide the parent name, right? So parent of tr is tbody, right? And parent of tbody is table. Okay, so I hope it's very easy to understand now. Parent of tbody is table. Okay, so I will just copy this in our notes. Example likewise. Okay, next. Okay, so next is ancestor. Okay, so using this parent access we are able to move in reverse direction to the parent tag for the current node. Okay, so it is very much limited to the only the previous tag to the current node, but in some scenarios we need to move from that current node to the parent of the parent, or parent of the parent means grandparent. Okay, so if you want to go to, let's say, grandparent, okay, if you want to go to let's say, let me make it easy, if you want to go from child node to grandparent. Okay, just an example, because using parent we are only able to go from child to parent tag, right? But what if you want to go to child to parent of the parent? Okay, and so on. You can go to any parent, like first tag HTML, so you can go up to the HTML tag as well. Okay, with the help of ancestor. So sometimes it happens for a parent or for a grandparent we don't have a uniquely you don't have a attribute which can uniquely identify our grandparent. Okay, or if there are any multiple web element, okay, which has the same attributes value, okay, and we are not able to locate them uniquely. Okay, so then we can use a child for which a unique identification is available, and we will use this ancestor and we will go to this parent node. Okay, and so let us see how you can do that. So let's see, for this label this is the immediate parent, right? Then td is the immediate parent, and tr is grandparent, then tbody is grandparent. So let's say if you want to go from label to table directly. Okay, so how you can go from label? So from okay, let me, from here we are at label, right? Okay, so using ancestor, you want to go to the table, right? Oh, table. Okay, so as you can see, we have traversed in reverse direction to the grandparent of this label node. Okay, so if you want to move in traverse direction, you have three methods. As of now we have seen three. One is slash dot dot. Okay, using that also you can traverse, or you can use the parent. Okay, but parent is limited to the immediate parent. Okay, immediate previous tag only, but using ancestor you can move in any tag. For example, we have seen this. Okay, so if you want to go to the you can go to the first node also. So how you can go to the first node? Our first node in our document is HTML, right? So how you can go, just provide HTML here. So as you can see, it is uniquely identified. So HTML, only one tag will be there in entire HTML DOM. Okay, so using this ancestor function access, we will be able to traverse in reverse direction up to the first node. Okay, so you can use the attribute or a combination with the attribute also. It's not like you have to provide only tag here. You can provide the whole syntax. For example, for table role is equal to presentation, so you can use that. Role is equal to okay, so at the rate. Okay, so this is an example. Okay, so we have seen this example also. How you can move to the HTML, just provide here HTML. Okay, just for the sake of your understanding how we are moving and how we are traversing in reverse direction from child to the parents. Okay, so let's see the next. Okay, so next is child. Okay, child, small c. So I think from the name itself you may understand that you are going to traverse from parent to child nodes. Okay, it's very easy. I will show you. So as you can see, this table has this t body as a child, and this t body has two children. Okay, not two, it has three, right? So let's go and go to t body directly. Go to t body. Okay, then I want to go to, or I want to check the childs. Okay, so number of childs also you can see. If you just have provide this child double colon and tr. Okay, child, let me see. Okay, so as you can see on the right side, it is showing 3, means this t body is, which is a parent, and it has 3 childrens. Okay, 3 trs. Okay, so in this way you can move from parent to the child node. Okay, sometimes it happen that parent we can easily identify, but for child we don't have any attribute available, okay, which can identify that child. So you can make a use of parent. Okay, identify the parent uniquely, and then just use this child and provide the tag. Okay, okay, So you can keep on using this until this again we got this parent. Okay, this will be considered as a whole parent, and you can go to the TD using the same function. Okay. Okay, so how you can, if you want to go to the TD. Okay, so also one more thing, you can provide the index also. So here it is showing 3. Okay, so if you want to go to the, okay, if you want to go to the second child, you can provide the index, or if you want to go to the third child, you can provide the index. Okay. Okay, so this is how you can go to the specific child using this indexing. Okay, and by using the child. Okay, just copy this. Okay, likewise. So next is descendant. Descendant. Okay, don't do the spelling mistake. So how you can use the descendant means, if there is a parent. Okay, if there is a parent and you want to check how many childs, okay, are there associated to him. Okay, so not only childs, but it can be grandchilds, right, or it can be grandchilds. Okay. Okay, and so on. So if you want to see, or if you want to go to some grandchild or grandchild, you can use this descendant. Okay, so I will show you how you can go. So let's say for, okay, let me show you. Let's go to T body. Okay, and let us see how many total childrens, including grandchildren, children, and grandchildren, okay, to this T body has. Okay, this T body have multiple. Okay, so let's see how many exactly it has, how many children total. So T body, then descendant, okay, and for all you can use the star, means anything. If you want to go to particular, you can use the tag, but we have given the star, that means all children. Okay, so as you can see there are 18, means this T body has 18 childrens. Not children means including grandchildren and grandchildren and so on. So let me paste this. Okay, so this will help you to check all children, okay, or grandchildren or grandchildren. Okay, likewise if you want to go to particular children, okay, go T body, then descendant double colon and specify the tag. Let's say if you want to go to immediate rows, okay, immediate children, that is the TR, right? In our example these are the immediate. Okay, so go to the nodes having the TRs, so we can specify that here TR. So as you can see it's showing the 3. Okay, previously it was 18, means including all, so now it is TR is 3. For TD you can see the 7, So there are total 7 TDs available, so some will be under this TD and some are here. Okay, likewise. Okay, so these are only the examples. Okay, so let's go and see next. Okay, so next is the fifth one, following. Okay, so following access. So what does it mean? From current node, okay, from current node, if you want to check how many elements are present after it, okay, until end, okay, until end node, if you want to see how many elements are there after the current node. Okay, so it's little bit hard to understand. I will show you practically. Okay, example. So what I mean is, let's say, okay, after T body, okay, so you can see after T body there are we don't know how many elements are there, but there are so many, right? So if you want to check how many elements are there after this T body, okay, so that you can check using this following access. Okay, so T body / following, okay, colon, and as you want to check all, then you can use the star. So this number will represent like 479 elements are there below this T body. Okay, so if you hit the enter, this is the first, second, third. Okay, likewise it will show you each and every element. Okay, so if you want to check only how many elements present with this input tag, you can specify here that as well, and that will give you the count. Only 40 are there. Okay, so this is the use of following, and how to use it using the specific tag, or you can use with the star as well. Okay, so sorry. Okay, so after T body, okay, after T body, how many elements with input? Okay, so it will give the number of elements, okay, number of elements with the input tag after T body. Okay, and this will, you will give all elements after T body. Okay, so that is the fifth one. So let's go and see the next. Okay, so next is following sibling. Okay, that's why we saw what is the following means, and then we are going to see what is sibling. Okay, if there is a parent A, okay, have 4 children, or let's say 3 children. Okay, then let's say the children are X, Y, Z. Okay, so all these X, Y and Z are called as sibling, right? they are in the same hierarchy, and they have the common parent. Okay, so all the children which have this common parent, okay, so they are called as a sibling. Okay, so if you want to move from one sibling to another sibling, then you can use this following sibling. Following means the next. So if you want to go from Y to Z, then you can use this following sibling. Okay, how to move from Y to X, that we will see. So let us see, move from in practically, let us see. So similar example we have already. So this T body has have 3 children. Okay, so let's go to this second TR first. Okay, and then we will try to move to the following sibling. Okay, so from T body, if you want to go to TR, okay, you want to go to the second TR first. Okay, indexing. Now from this I want to go to the this using following sibling. So how you can go using following sibling. Okay, sorry, I made a mistake. Following dash sibling. Okay, then double colon and just provide the tag. Okay, so as you can see, it has identified it's uniquely. So this second row has only one sibling, that's why it is showing 1. Okay, so let's say how many, let's say if we go to the first row, so how many siblings it has. The following siblings to the first row are 2, right? These 2, right? Okay, so using single slash or double slash, okay, you won't be able to move from one node to the parallel node, means sibling. So you have to use this following sibling concept. Okay, so just I will show you. Once you get to the first row, okay, now you want to go to the this second row. How you can go? There is nothing that you can use. You cannot use the double slash, you cannot use the single slash as well. Okay, so that's where the following sibling comes into picture, when you have to move from parallel nodes, okay, from one node to another node. So following sibling will be very useful. Okay, so I am not paid. Provide the tube. This is for example. Okay, save. So let's go and see the next. It's very much similar, but just it's opposite. Okay, so it is just opposite to the previous one. Preceding sibling, so it is just opposite to the following sibling. Okay, it will give us the siblings available before the current node. Okay, so through example you can check here, this third row we check, it has no sibling, means we are using following sibling for this third TR. Okay, so you do not have any sibling, right? The following sibling, but he has 2 preceding sibling. Okay, so you just have to use here preceding. Okay, so as you can see on right hand side, it is showing 2. Okay, so it's correct, and this is how you can use the preceding sibling. So just I will, for example, okay, so this is the 8th XPath access. Guys, let us go and see some helper functions available for our XPath creation. So let's go. check helper functions or XPath. Okay, so when we see the example, you will understand these functions are also very important. Okay, just stay focused. Okay, so first one, like what I am going to tell you is, I will just show you. Let's inspect this one. Okay, so what if, okay, so as of now we have created XPath for this element, right? Already. How you can create with the text, let's say label text equal to single quote. Okay, now what if this text has some spaces in between, at the starting or ending? Okay, I mean, what if, let's say, okay, like this, if you have spaces at the first or ending part, then it won't be able to identify with this. Okay, so let's control F, control Z. So can you see that previously it was able to identify this, but I have just introduced some spaces at the starting and ending part. So as you can see, this is not recognizing and identifying this element. Okay, so in this case, in your real-time application, if you have some text and it has some spaces, so we have one function which will normalize and which will ignore these spaces, starting space and ending space, not the space in between these 2 to 3 words. Okay, so it will only ignore the first and last spaces. So how you can use it, just I will show you. Okay, so with the text normalize sorry, dash space. Okay, it is a function, so give bracket. Okay, then get the text inside. This is the text. Okay, and here we need to provide the bracket, right? Okay, so you can see that even though we provided the space in between, now it is able to identify our web element. Okay, so let me check it again. Okay, so let me check something is wrong with the function. Oh, okay, so this position of this bracket should be the normalized text function, right? Okay, now you can see it is showing 1 of 1. Okay, normalize space, inside that function whatever attribute you want to use. So for text method we don't use the @ right, and the value of the attribute without spaces. Okay, so similarly, if you want to use it for this, okay, let me give some space in between starting and trailing spaces. Now if you want to identify this with the help of normalized space, okay, how you can identify it? Okay, so normalized space, attribute for attribute, right, equal to its value, so email. Okay, so as you can see, it able to identify that uniquely. We just use this normalize space function on for attribute, and we have provided the value without space. Okay, so this is how you can handle such kind of scenario if you are, if they are in your real-time application. with the text or attributes value having some starting and trailing spaces. So just use this function, and it is very useful while handling this kind of scenarios. Okay, so I will just copy and paste here normalize space. So this is our first helper function, okay, in XPath. Okay, so let's go and see next. Okay, so next is not function. This is also quite useful. So let us consider a scenario. Okay, let me I'll show you the example. Okay, let's create XPath for this. Div is equal to id is equal to, we have this, so control F, div at the rate id is equal to this. Okay, now I want to go to this label. Okay, after this, so I want to go label which have, I want to go to the label means that is a child of this the element. Okay, so it is not a immediate child, it's a grandchild. Okay, as you can see here, this is the immediate child, then its child. Okay, and here it present. So label with text, okay, with text having female. Okay, so now you can see that it is highlighting the radio button. But what if I want to highlight the male? So I just have to make the negation of this condition. Okay, in that case we can use the not function. So I will just show you how you can use it. So inside the bracket is our condition, right? So just put this condition in a bracket. Okay, and just write here not. Okay, so this will make this condition, okay, opposite, means find text or find a node having the label and which should not have the text equal to female. So there are two radio buttons, okay, male and custom. Okay, so this is how you can use the not. Okay, sometimes very useful. So let's go and see the next function. Okay, so these are the two helper functions. There are some others also present, but I don't think they are required, for creating the XPath. Okay, these two are enough. Okay, so let us go and only what we remained, how to use and or. Okay, logical and logical or in XPath. Okay, so how you can use it, you can provide like a first tag, then here you will have some let's say attribute, is equal to some value. Okay, so this is one condition. Okay, and also you can use space and you can provide another condition here. Okay, for example, in combination of attribute and text equal to some value. So here we are saying that find a tag with this attribute value, okay, and text is equal to this. Okay, so let me give an example to you. Okay, accordingly you will be able able to understand. Okay, so let us inspect this. Okay, and for this we have already created XPath. Control F. Label tag with @for equal to its value. What is the value? Email. Okay, okay, so also you can use and condition here, and okay, and text equal to, what is the text? This you can just copy this. Okay, so still it able to identify uniquely, right? So this is how you can use the AND. Okay, so not only with the text and attribute, you can use with the AND @ID with the name. Okay, all the combination that we have already seen previously with the help also with the contents function. Okay, content function, what we have seen already. So all these with all this function we will be able to use this and an OR. Okay, that's why I take this at the end. So all the functions will support and OR. Okay, so this is just an example. Okay, so for OR it's very much similar, just you have to replace AND with OR. Okay, right? So just basically what we are saying is find a tag. The example, just I will show you. Okay, find a tag with label. Okay, for which we have an attribute called for, which has value is equal to email and text is equal to email and phone. So AND condition for this, both or, we can say both or, all the conditions should be true. Okay, otherwise it will not be able to identify as it is AND. Okay, so this condition should be matched and this should condition should also be matched. Okay, so this is opposite to the OR. So what will OR will do, will just, okay, so if you use OR here, okay, so all conditions here, at least one condition, okay, at least one condition should be true. Okay, so you can use here any number of conditions. Okay, let's say tag and bracket condition 1 or condition 2 or condition 3. Okay, so any number of, okay, likewise. So here at least one should be, true. Okay, it should be matched if you are using the OR. But in case of AND, all the conditions, if you are using a multiple condition with the AND here, if you are using AND here, okay, so all the conditions should be true and then only it will be able to identify that element. All should be true, equal to true. Okay, I hope it's quite easy and an OR, and it's very helpful while using them with the combination with the previously functions that we have already seen. Okay, So just have some practice with this and or with the previously functions. Okay, that's it for this lecture. I hope you have understand all the concept and all the functions, okay, by using which you can create your robust XPath, okay, within a minute. Okay, so it's very easy, just have some practice, and as I already said, if you practice it well, okay, you will become master in XPath. Okay, so still if you don't understand anything, just write in comment. Okay, and I'm going to paste all this our notes in description box of the video, so that will be easy for you. Okay guys, if you like knowledge and content of this channel, don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video with your friends. Okay, and don't forget to press the bell icon so that you will get notification as soon as I upload a new video. Okay, so thanks for watching, see you in the next.